Welcome to the Push for More podcast, a place for youth and parents to find inspirational stories and meet extraordinary people. Today we present Dave Vanicky, an entrepreneur, architectural visionary, cancer survivor, and loving father. For more information about surviving melanoma, please get in touch with the Melanoma Research Foundation. Additional information can be found at the American Cancer Society. Youth and parents interested in learning more about entrepreneurship can find resources and activities at thepushformore.com. Our Summer Youth Entrepreneurship Workshop, planned for summer 2025, will be available soon. Thank you.
The Push for More podcast.
On today's podcast, we have Dave Vanicky. He is part owner of Modular Genius and a cancer survivor. Dave grew up in Perry Hall, Maryland, and attended Perry Hall High School, graduating in 1988. He is married with 2 children, lives in Harford County. Dave, thanks for doing this for us today. I know that you are working here and invited us over to Modular Genius to do this, and we're thrilled to be here. I think people want to know a little bit about your background. If you can go into your background just a little bit, growing up in Perry Hall and your situation there, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. My parents came here from Czechoslovakia, escaped communism, came to the United States and ended up plopping down in Owings Mills originally, but then moved to Perry Hall when I was about 5 years old, 6 years old, and been there ever since. I think that it's a tremendous benefit to graduate where you went to elementary school. Because like you, John, how long we known each other? 4th grade?
Probably, yeah, 3rd or 4th grade.
Yeah, and a lot of my friends are people that I've known in the grades 1 through 5. And still, it's a pleasure to be walking around in your hometown and saying to your kids, I went to school with her. I have a picture of her in 2nd grade with that young lady, or now old lady. But yeah, graduated and then just moved on up the road to Harford County, a little bit up further, 95.
And can you tell us a little bit about Modular Genius, the company that you work for here?
Sure. Speaking of which, in 3rd grade, I met my business partner, Damon Pross. Damon started working for a company called William Scotsman. They were right down here off of 95 by White Marsh Mall. And he worked for them and told me, hey, come on aboard. I had hair down in my belt loops, much like I do now. Well, not quite that long now, but convinced me to come on board, cut my hair, and got a corporate job. I worked there for 5 years. Then a competitor took me over, and I was working up in Harrisburg. You ever been to Harrisburg?
Yes, sir.
And there's a reason
Pennsylvania.
why. Exactly. That's a reason why I got out of there.
I don't
Because there
blame
ain't
you.
nothing to do.
Nothing.
So then I moved a little bit further down, like to York, and that's even worse. So I was commuting every day from Hunt Valley all the way to Harrisburg. I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. Luckily, a competitor came and offered me a branch manager position down here in Baltimore. So I took that. I worked there for 5 years, but I maintained my relationship with my other partner, Brad Gudeman, and Damon. We always kept in close contact. And every Tuesday night, we had little kids. We'd go have a night out. And we would sit and talk about what we would do differently, how we would do modular construction, but do it different than the people that we were working for. And that was providing turnkey services, because usually a construction trailer you put out on a job site. And if you go to Perry Hall Middle School, where we graduated, or not graduated, we went to school, I have 14 modular classrooms out there. That's an example of what we do. But what this industry was driving towards was turnkey construction, meaning you do the electrical connection, the foundation, the data, the security. And those little pods, 24 by 36 pods, are now 12,000 square foot wings of schools. I just did Mount Washington, 2-story modular classroom with an elevator. I'm working right now on a project at a auto manufacturing plant in Blue Springs, Mississippi, 15,000 square foot steel and concrete building. So the industry itself has evolved, and we were fortunate enough to have the vision, thinking modular construction, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of reasons people want to build modular. So let's provide more services, turnkey services, meaning we can do the permit process, we can do foundations, we can do water, sewer, we can have project managers, site superintendents, and treat it like a commercial construction project rather than delivering a construction trailer.
So I have to ask you, who came up with the main idea? Was it you or Damon?
We just would sit around and we'd talk about what the industry needs, where there's a gap. So that's where it started, and we started spinning off on that, thinking, hey, these are some industries that are maybe being ignored by the larger companies. Can we focus in on those?
So what would you say to young entrepreneurs that are starting out today that maybe come right out of high school that want to start something or maybe build something from themselves? What advice would you give a young entrepreneur that is starting out on their own?
Well, an entrepreneur, my son, it's interesting because my son is now in college and he's interested in becoming an entrepreneur. He sees the benefits and the excitement from growing a company. It's the American dream. It's why my parents came here in 1969, because Prague Spring, it was communism's here to stay. This is what you're going to do. And they were like, oh, hell no, I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm going to the United States. They did it the right way back there. That's a whole different conversation,
Yes.
But they went in, they got their citizenship, they did their tests, and no prouder Americans that you'll find. It's the American dream.
It is.
So back to your question on entrepreneurship would be, you can't just say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, because you need something to do. Did I think I was going to, you knew me. I don't know nothing about construction, and I own a construction company. I hold the general contractor's license in 35 states. I don't know much about construction. No, you have to know something, but there's a lot of people out there that really are hands-on and know things. So, you could own an HVAC company, but you got to know about HVACs. So, embrace your trade, learn something. Or have an idea or something that
Or be willing to learn about that trade.
Exactly.
Yes.
You got to be a master. You don't even have to be a master of it, but you have to embrace something. And Brad, Damon, and myself, we sat every Tuesday for more than a year and discussed what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. When we presented our business plans to the bank, they were like, this is the most thought out business plan that I've ever read. But it has you making money in your first year.
Yeah.
And we did. But anyway, to summarize, it's just you can't just be an entrepreneur. You have to be passionate about something. You have to own something. You have to know something.
Yes.
And then find the way how you can make it successful.
A lot of kids today have family, social, digital issues. We're all connected to our cell phones and our computers, and a lot of two people families, or one person parent families and things like that. What advice would you give to kids that have hardships like that, pardon the pun, to help them push through their situation?
Yeah, well, growing up, I would say that we all know those people that either find that as an excuse or a reason to succeed. It's easy to say, oh, the cards were stacked against me, there's nothing I can do.
Correct.
Or there's the opposite where you could say, oh, hell no, I'm going forward. I'm going to blast this up. I'm going to take it to the next level.
What I'm trying to say is that at the Push for More, we have mentors that help youth overcome some of these obstacles and help them find their passion, like you were talking about, find their drive, guide them, not persuade them to be any certain way, but to guide them with their passion, help them find their passion, those kind of things. When you were younger, did you have anything like that? Did you have a mentor? Did you have somebody in your life that helped you find or focus in on what you like to do? Or did you just find it by happenstance?
That's a good question. But it really, what I wanted to do, I wanted to be a rock star. That's what I wanted to do. But then I started, as I was growing older, I said, you know what? Making money is probably a better path than trying to make music. No offense to trying to do that. My mentor, I can say, in retrospect, was my father, because, again, he came to this country and didn't have anything, one suitcase, no money, which is also great inspiration because you asked about people that have hardships. Well, he was 23 years old, 24 years old, but he had a hardship. He was in this country, didn't know the language, and he was here by himself. Mm-hmm. He didn't look for an excuse. When he retired, he owned 2 places down the beach, his shop, his house, everything paid for. So within the 50 years that he was here, he accomplished more than people that have been here their whole life just by working. What he did is he had an auto service. So here's the kicker. That dude didn't know much about cars. He just had an accent. Everybody thought he was German. So everybody took his car, oh, this German guy. He wasn't even German. He was Czech. Mm-hmm. And he worked down at, remember by Skateland, that Volkswagen dealership? Mm-hmm. He worked there. And then he always tells the story of he didn't even know the language that well. And they said, who can be a state inspector? Nobody raised their hand to take the classes. And my dad said, he raised his hand and everybody giggled at him because it was back then 2 wild and crazy guys, Czechoslovakian brothers, and his brother worked there too. And so they didn't even know. It's funny because people would be doing all this wild and crazy guys, and they
Saturday Night Live, right?
Yeah,
Steve Martin,
right? They had no idea what it was. Anyway, so he took that test and he came in and he passed it. He was so proud. So anyway, he worked there, he did well there, and then him and an Irishman there decided, you know what? We came to this country not to work for somebody. We came here to do something on our own, and that's what we're going to do. Then they started their auto service. So when I say inspiration, that was my inspiration for Modular Genius.
No doubt.
Hey, you know what? My dad came here for this country. Back then, you weren't able to go back to the country you left. Mm-hmm. It was, I'll see you later, and I may never ever see you again. It's a lot different.
That's hardcore right there.
Right. So it was saying goodbye. My mom left and never saw her mother again. So, when you talk about inspiration, came to this country, my father was just like, I came here, I got one try. Let's make this one try. At least I can say I tried. And he turned it into good success. So I did the same thing with his backing. He looked at me and said, you go do what you need to do. And I have your back. So that was kind of, I was like, well, if he did it, I'm going to give it a try.
My dad is my hero too.
Yeah.
So I know how you feel.
Yeah.
And it's a great feeling. Mm-hmm. It's a great thing. And I hope that my organization can provide that hero figure, whether it be female or male, to somebody that needs one. I know you've overcome some tremendous adversity in your life. Can you tell me about your diagnosis and what you went through and how you got through it and who helped you?
Yes. I'm as I mentioned before, Eastern European descent. So my people belong in castles, not on beaches. But as you know, I spent a lot of time on beaches and boats and surfing and skiing and being outdoors. And I always had the philosophy of let's get these burns out of the way. That's what we did. We all did, 30, 40 years ago. I had a little freckle on my cheek, which I ignored. And then I had a burner, or like whatever that is. They did that on it. And then there was like a little bump there on my cheek. And it was just there. And then my wife finally said, I made you an appointment with a dermatologist to check that out. And I went, they biopsied it and called me up and said it was melanoma. I didn't even know what melanoma really was, because you always hear about basal cell and squamous cell and whatever, and you don't know, okay, well, let's get rid of it. Mm-hmm. Not knowing that it can get into your lymph nodes and et cetera, and it can metastasize throughout your body. So they cut it out and stitched me up and went on my way. And they called me up a few days later as I was going to the Oriole game. I can remember it. And got the call that the margins weren't clear, meaning when they cut it out, they have to have a distance around the cancerous area to prevent it from spreading or anything being left behind. Well, the margins were not clear, so they had to go in again. Shrugged my shoulders and, okay, got to do what we got to do. They cut it and they cut that area out and they were satisfied with the margins and off I went. So I had a cool scar,
Battle scar.
Battle scar, looked pretty bitch in there for a while. And then about a year later, I felt something in the same area. And I was told, that's scar tissue. Just keep rubbing it and, it'll dissipate or it'll break up. And the opposite happened. It just got bigger. So then I went back to the doctor and they took another biopsy and were like, bad news. It's back. So they saw that they needed to cut it out again. And this time it was bigger. So when they cut it out, this type of cancer drills deep. It doesn't get into your lymph nodes. It doesn't metastasize so much, but it drills deep. So it's kind of a good thing that it was on my cheek because there's nowhere to go. The problem is it went right through my cheek. So when they cut me up this time, they took out my whole daggone cheek. So I got a scar from my knee to my hip. And when they took out my cheek, they took out all that thigh, all that skin and muscle from your thigh, and they made like a hamburger patty. You can imagine 2 hamburger patties. And one on the outside and one on the inside, because your cheek has inside skin and outside skin, and then some kind of film between the two. So they cut my cheek out, 22-hour surgery with about 22 surgeons in there. It was rough. And I woke up with a Kaiser roll sewn onto the side of my face. Literally looked like a Kaiser roll sewn on the side of my face. But happy to be alive. I also remember taking my tongue to my inside of my cheek and thinking, isn't that some crazy stitching they have in there? It's very erratic, almost like hair on your leg. And that's what it was, the hair from my thigh on the inside of my daggone cheek. Are you kidding me? Gnarly. But they built it up so much because I was going to undergo radiation in the coming weeks, and that damages your skin and has a lot of impact on your skin. So they bulked it up. So when I said a Kaiser roll, I'm not kidding. It looked like a hamburger bun sewn on the side of your face. And it was tough walking around looking like that.
Yep.
But my friends will attest. I didn't change. Everybody would always say, it's amazing. You're just same old Dave.
Yep.
I remember my daughter, her having a cheer competition at Harvard Community College. And not a competition, the championship, state championship. And the whole family said, we understand, Dad, if you can't go, you don't want to go. I said, yeah, it's pretty tough going out in public and in the middle of an arena like this. But I put that all aside, and there I went.
Yep.
I'll never forget her reaction when she looked up into the stands and saw me. She started crying, and it was something that she tells me to this day. She'll never forget that. So it doesn't matter what I looked like or what I felt like or if all eyes were on me. I was there for her.
You were there.
And I've made her something that she remembers for the rest of her life and showed how much I cared for her because it wasn't about me. It was for me to be there for her.
Yes.
So as time went on, I was undergoing radiation, and I'd come in the office every day afterwards. And the radiation on your face, they have this like Hannibal Lecter mask that they put on you like a net, and they strap you in. Click, 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 click. And they put you in underneath like an MRI thing, and then they burn you. You go underneath that for, I don't know how long it was, like an hour long, 45 minutes. You're under that thing and that mask. And I'd have it dry you out and beat you up. But I'd come to work every day. Right afterwards, I'd come to this desk and work, and everybody was like, "Why aren't you home?" I'm like, what am I going to do home? Like, I might as well be here. I mean, I might as well work. I mean, it's the only thing I got. I'm not going clubbing. That's for damn sure.
And you didn't stay home and pardon the phrase, feel sorry for yourself.
Hell no.
You got out there and you went to work, continued your life, carried on, pushed forward.
Push forward.
It takes a lot of gumption and a lot of guts, Dave.
I would sit here and even have a Kleenex in my nose from it bleeding. And I would, afterwards, I'd be like, man, geez, I feel sorry for the people who have to come into my office and see this train wreck.
Yeah.
But, you know, I knew that there'd be another side. And like we joked about earlier, when you have that Grim Reaper sharpening that sickle over you, you think a lot of things like, daggone it, I didn't get to see my kids graduate. Are you kidding me? God, why did I put money in my 401k? I knew I should have spent that money. But then you start, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to keep pushing through. I'm going to get through this. And now you won't find a more handsome guy my age.
Absolutely.
No, these doctors are angels.
Yes.
They're actually summoned from direct links to heaven.
Yes.
It's amazing what they put themselves through. And what they did when I mentioned that Kaiser roll, Dr. Boheen at Johns Hopkins, he would chew it away, take off a little section, and keep pulling up my skin. Keep pulling it up and making it go away until we are where we are today.
It's fascinating, and it's just, like you said, they're angels from heaven. Man, I mean, what they can do and the advanced technology that's coming about is so promising, so hopeful. And you're a testament to that inspiration. So thank you for sharing that with us so much.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite a story. And I don't think a lot of people know that about you. I know your friends, immediate family do, but I think there's a lot of people out there that would be touched by that. And you prevailed. You're doing great. You're handsome. You're a handsome devil.
Fake news.
You're doing good. even when you skateboard and fall off your skateboard.
Right. Happens.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing everything today, and I appreciate all the wisdom and words of wisdom and your insights and your story and all that great stuff. And we'll let you know when this gets aired.
Excellent. And I appreciate you thinking about me and having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Push for More podcast. To join our mentor network or appear on the podcast, feel free to reach out to us at thepushformore.com.
And if you have the means, please consider making a tax-deductible contribution to help support our mission.
Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Every little bit helps us push forward.